Redfin and Homes.com are shooting warning flares about the real estate market. But is this something you should actually be paying attention to? Or is this just more fear mongering to stir the pot? Well, in this video, we're going to dive into two of the latest articles. One that's raising alarm bells about tariff fears slowing down the spring market, and another that's showing a massive gap of what homes are listed for and what they're actually selling for. Now, sure, the headlines sound dramatic, but once you look under the hood, the real story gets even more interesting. Now, since 2010, I've been helping people navigate the Denver market. And if you find yourself with questions, just give me a call or shoot me a text here. Starting with the Homes.com article, and I'll have the link in the description below here. Headline is Tariffs Snuff Out Hopes of a Busy Spring Housing Market. We thought we saw a light at the end of the tunnel, chief economist says. They make some valid points in here. And they go over what the tariffs are doing, how that's kind of affecting consumer confidence. New home sales, right, with the tariffs are actually a pretty big deal. And it has some great information, but we're going to break this all down. And then existing home sales falling to the lowest level since 2009. And then, of course, volatile mortgage rates kind of putting a lot of people into a panic, not really knowing exactly what to do. Starting with the elephant in the room, tariffs. So Homes.com just dropped this piece claiming that new U.S. tariffs, specifically the ones on goods from China, are throwing cold water on what should be the hottest time of year for the housing market. So why does this matter for real estate? Well, because when tariffs hit imported goods, it gets more expensive to build and renovate homes. Lumber, appliances, countertops, everything goes up. And that cost just doesn't affect builders. It messes with buyer confidence, okay? If you're already struggling with high rates and now a kitchen rental might cost 20% more, you wait, you hesitate, you pull back. The article also points out that mortgage rates are back on the rise, sitting at 6.83% currently, which is pushing even more buyers to the sideline. That's the highest they've been in over a month, and it's reversing the momentum we started to see in January and February. Now, here's the part that hit me. Experts in the article flat out say that these tariffs are creating the exact kind of uncertainty that leads people to freeze. Buyers stall, sellers hold off, inventory builds, prices stagnate or slide. Now, we're seeing this already. More homes are on the market right now, but traffic is down, showings are down, offers fewer. Sellers aren't panicking yet, but the market feels a little kind of twitchy, right? And if tariffs keep piling on, expect new construction to slow down even further. Builders don't want to gamble on higher material costs and softening demand. Their expenses on a new build are going to be massively higher than what they are for your renovation of your kitchen or bathroom. All right, now let's talk about something a little bit more fascinating than tariffs, which is pricing psychology. I love pricing psychology. I love marketing. And Redfin just dropped this stat that says it all. This kind of wraps up everything about what we're feeling in the entire market, whether you're a buyer or a seller. The stat says the average home is selling for almost $39,000 below the list price right now. This chart is kind of fascinating. So, in the entire country, right? And Denver is going to be more expensive than the national median, Seattle even more so, San Francisco even more so. But this percentage tracks amongst every price range. And it's a 10% difference from what houses are being listed for to what they're selling for. So if you list that 600,000, according to this data, which, one of my favorite quotes is figures can't lie, but liars can figure, it's stating that you will sell for approximately 10% less than that. Why is that? Okay, so this 9% gap, that's the biggest we've seen since COVID hit, and we had a few months of a really crappy market, right? Now, what that's telling me is that sellers are still stuck in 2021, right? They're pricing based off of the vibes, not the reality. Meanwhile, buyers, they've kind of wised up, right? And they're looking at days on market, not just Instagram worthy staging, and they're offering what they think the house is actually worth, not what the seller hopes it'll fetch. Okay. Redfin's data shows that this is happening everywhere, and not every market is created equally, right? I can show you markets in Denver that are up 10 to 15% year over year, and I can show you other markets here that are down 10 to 15% year over year. Okay. The sale to list ratio is dropping just across the board, right? And it's flashing a warning sign that sellers need to adjust and fast, or you're going to risk sitting for months. So here's what that means if you're a buyer. You have some leverage right now. You're not competing with 15 offers anymore. You're not waiving inspections. You can negotiate again. And if you're a seller, you need to wake up. Price ahead of the curve, not behind it. Because the worst thing in this kind of market isn't selling too low, it's not selling at all. I mean, just this last weekend, right? I went and looked for a buyer at a property, and it was in number one neighborhood in Denver in Wash Park, and the activity was high, right? They had a several handfuls of showings, and come Sunday, they had an offer in hand. So one day after being on the market, threats of multiple offers. And then by Monday morning, I got the message saying, hey, actually, we just got one offer in hand. So if you want to compete, you're just competing against one, right? So even though they priced it well, they priced it right, the house looked right, it looked good, presented well, they did everything right. They might have been hoping for multiple offers and drive the price up by 5%, 10% maybe. But at the end of the day, they ended up with one offer, probably right at around asking price, right? And that is maybe the best case scenario. But what we're seeing is wanting to push the price. If you don't ask for it, you don't get it. 100% true. I get that. I've been in that boat before. But at the same time, we might be playing a catch up game to where you're trying to catch up with price. So if you do a $5,000 to $10,000 price adjustment once a week, once every other week, you might just be keeping up with what the market is doing, not getting ahead of the curve, right? So right out of the gate, presenting right, pricing right, and then working with the buyers that you do have, because there's not a ton of them out there right now. Every market is a little bit different, but don't mess around. When you get an offer in, try to work with that buyer because they want your house. They just want to maybe, not pay top of the market price for it because they feel like a headwind is coming. So what does my crystal ball say is going to be happening over the next 3, 6, 12 months in the Denver market specifically? I actually think we could see an interesting summer. So right now, April historically is the very best month to be a seller, right? We're at tippy top pricing for properties that are going to close in the next 30 to 45 days. And that's what we're in right now. And activity is pretty stagnant, right? The buyers that are out are serious buyers, though. So that's the nice thing. It might not take 12 showings to get an offer. It might take 4 or 5, right? Maybe one, maybe two. But what's going to happen is there's still demand out there. There's still people need somewhere to live, right? And so these tariffs have really kind of hit the pause button on everybody, along with the stock market, right? And they go kind of hand in hand, and it's all wackadoodle. And so it's got a lot of people scared. That doesn't mean they're not going to ever buy. It just means they're holding off. So where we start to slow down in the middle of June and into July, that's really slow, and into the beginning of August, where then it starts to pick up, we might actually see more of a flattening out, might be my guess, if they get the tariff thing handled and they stop saying tariff wars and tariff this and tariff that and tariff, just shut up and things are going to be normalized again. But I think that's part of the goal here, is to make things a little out of whack before they get back to normal. So if they settle down over the next 2 to 4 weeks, I think all this pent up demand is still going to continue through the summer month. But as a buyer, you're still going to have some more options. So it'll be interesting to see, and I will keep you posted on what's happening. Now, if you need help navigating the Denver market, just give me a call, shoot me a text message. I'll help you out and put you on the right path. But these numbers in general are big numbers that we're looking at for the entire U.S. housing market. And if you want to see what's been going on Denver specifically, check out my last market report here.